Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to Masculine Endeavors. So this is our first video for Masculine Endeavors, and let's start it off very simple, very easy with success. It's a positive desire, right? That's what we want. We want a positive desire, and the desire we have is to be successful. I know we have many desires, but today we're going to talk about being successful. That's it, being successful. And what does it really mean? It means making progress on a worthy ideal. You have something important to you and you want to make progress. I'm sure you want to accomplish it, but really it's making progress on a worthy ideal. You are successful. So if you started a diet and you're taking care of things each and every day, setting your food up right, if you started dating, you're putting your profiles together nicely, you're going out taking pictures, you're getting consistent looks, you're working on your wardrobe, you're getting a little fitter. You're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to up, and improve yourself in each and every way you can. That's successful. If you're starting a business, you start looking at everything that you need and you start looking at the stories of other successful people. You don't only want to look at data. You don't only want to look at some certain things you need. You also need stories. You need the stories of other heroes, and you need personal heroes that you can look up to and that you can model yourself after, or you can pretend and believe that you get into it like a character, right? As you do those things, and any of those things that I mentioned, wealth, health, happiness, spiritual development, whatever it is, you're being successful and you're being a success because you're making progress on a worthy ideal, okay? So the problem is, that's the positive desire. What's the problem? What's the problem? The problem is we're raised to conform, right? And we're in a very feminine environment in school. You know, a feminine environment in school, a woman's feminine energy thing is to be, doing things right, to be polite, to be a good person, almost like a church lady, that's very strongly, women really keep society together in a lot of ways that are like prim and perfect. And you end up like getting raised with all these female teachers and all this feminized movies and commercials. The guy's always an idiot in the commercial, blah, blah, blah. It's all about these like, woman knows best, blah, blah, blah. It's all this prim and perfect things. But the thing is women have two parts of their mind. They have their prim and perfect part, and then they have their do whatever works part, right? Like the chick who's like, oh, I don't go out with those kind of guys. And then she completely goes out with those kind of guys. And she'll go out with them for like 10 or 15 years till she's learned better. Yeah. So everyone has different parts of their mind. And the problem is, as men, we were raised, we're actually pretty good at taking direction. We're actually quite programmable. So we're getting programmed to not rock the boat, to not screw up, to not be impolite, to not do this, to not do that. And we really get, we get emasculated, we get neutered. Why? Because we don't thrive on that. Like the nature of man is to be a protector and a provider. Could you really protect someone not making a mistake? Now, I'll tell you a little story about protecting someone in just a few minutes from now. It's a radical story. But had I never taken chances, jumping off rocks, logs, climbing a tree, like, riding my bicycle inappropriately, if I wasn't a little dick sometimes, you know what I'm saying? You're just being a boisterous young man. If you don't do any of that, you don't have any skills development for future. When you see a young animal and it's playing rough and hard, and it's playing, it's like play fighting. Well, later in life, that play fighting turns into hunting and protecting. If it doesn't play, it can't hunt. And the thing was, guys, we didn't play in the right ways growing up, so we're kind of neutered when it comes to hunting, when it comes to getting our success. And being a man, part of that means being unapologetic. It means doing something that offends people. When a big storm comes in, everybody adapts to the storm. When a masculine energy comes in, people need to adapt to the masculine energy. That's the way it is. Protecting someone can be a very ugly endeavor to those that don't understand what's happening. What you're doing is you're doing something beautiful. You're saving life. But it doesn't always come off that way in the moment because there's a ruckus, right? So we're raised to conform and raised to apologize, raised to ask permission, and all these kinds of things. But entrepreneur-wise, boldness-wise, you're going to have to break some rules. You're going to have to break some eggs in order to make your omelet, do what you want, things like that. All right, so the solution, let's move on to the solution. The solution is going to be a little interesting, right? Love. No, I'm not joking around. Do you love yourself enough to give yourself what you want? Can you be kind enough to yourself? Oh, I don't want to offend anybody. Can you not offend yourself enough to give yourself what you need? You need your medicine, right? Success for men is a medicine. A lot of ladies go to therapy. They feel better when they vent. They feel better. Isn't that cool? Good for them. We don't feel that much better. Like, I vent for a little bit and I'm like, all right, well, how is everything going to get better? For women, that bonding and sharing through venting, it literally makes them feel better, and they quite often go with their feelings. Us men, we go with facts as a general thing, that we thrive well on facts and making things happen, right? Because we have to be the provider and the protector. You could feel however you want, but if you didn't protect, it doesn't matter, you didn't protect. You could feel however you want. You feel like you're a king, but you didn't provide, you didn't provide. And, you know, life's going to be different because you didn't provide. So the solution is actually to care about yourself, to love yourself, to give a fuck enough to make things happen. You have to care enough. We'll get back to that, but that's basically the solution. Care enough about yourself. If you have trouble caring enough about yourself, like you say, man, I'd love to, but I'm not like, fuck, man, I just don't stand up for myself, or I don't do this, or I don't do that, or I could achieve this, but I don't feel like it's right if I achieve it, if others don't achieve it, or whatever. Then you have to find a way. Some of that's codependency. Some of that's mental health problem, okay? Honestly. You know, you drink water because you care enough about yourself not to suffer insane dehydration or death, right? You're going to have to start to think of things like medicine. Success is a medicine. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to raise your self-esteem. It's going to raise your confidence. It's going to give you experience, and you're going to grow. But there'll be people who get offended because who are you to stand up and do something good? Because they're jealous, they're not doing it, you know? And sometimes, you know, it's irrational. They just get an irrational feeling, and then you get like freaked out because they're all like tight and uptight. That's where you have to be an unapologetic storm. You have to embrace unapologetic masculinity. And I know some of you are like me, and you'll hear that as like maybe something super wild or crazy or violent or something like super bad or whatever, like girls telling gossip in school that ruins another girl's life. No, we're not talking about nasty shit like that. We're talking about just being bold to care about yourself, understanding some people will get pissed, and then understanding they'll adapt and it's no big deal, okay? So let's get to a story about where when I was younger, you know, being rough and tumble, learning martial arts, being boisterous, stuff like that, stuff that's all considered toxic masculinity. Yeah, I had a lot of sex with a lot of women who really were attracted to that energy. And when you're getting rewarded from like super attractive women who are then saying some other dude's toxic, but you're like, dude, I'm just like him, I don't get it. You know, there's a part of you that's like, do I love myself enough to be loved? Do I love myself enough to be held and to hold? Do I love myself enough to go to parties and have fun and go out, you know, to have a girlfriend, to do things, you know, or to date a lot? Do I love myself to have fun and make shit happen? Because if I listen to my girl's words, like I wouldn't even be who I am, but she's completely with me. And so, you know, there's some weird mapping you have to do. Like, who are you going to trust? Who are you going to listen to? You know, as a man, you really need to listen to men. You can occasionally be informed by chicks, but chicks are very deep in a way that we're not quite, okay? They're deep with their motivations are different. Like, they'll give a compliment, but it's actually an insult, or vice versa. Like, that stuff's very tricky. And you're not really well attuned to it until you're attuned to it. And even then, it takes a lot of work. That's why it's better to work with men. Okay, so here's a story of where When I was assertive and aggressive younger, it set me up for success to provide and protect, for example. In this story, it's going to be about force, protection, movement, righteous war, and conquering. Okay, I'll say it again. Force, protection, movement, righteous war, conquering. So I was at a party. It was in Palm Springs. It was like 25 years, it was like 30 years ago. And, you know, it was a rough and tumble party. There was drugs, there were stolen items at the party, but it was upscale. It was, you know, it was at a really upscale country club. And it was a dude who had an older stripper girlfriend. She was my ex person I had some one night stands with type stuff. And I was down in that community, down in that group. And the young man, you know, he was go along to get along with the older attractive stripper chick. And she had all her criminal friends. And, you know, I'm reformed, you know, but I was there at the time. Anyways, long story short, something happened. A couple of women walked up to me. It was a Latina and an Asian chick, and they're like, our friend is being sexually assaulted behind that door. And I said, well, I'm not exactly sure. You know, maybe they're having rough play or something like that. You should really listen carefully before you talk to me about that. Because whatever reason, I'm the toughest guy at the party. And you make that whatever you want to be, but that came to me. So they came back and they said, no, we really think it's, you know, sexual assault, big time bad. And we're going to go ahead and get involved. And they had a big knife from the kitchen. And the homie who came in, he was all hooded up. I'm telling you, it was 110 degrees out. He was all hooded up, thugged out. And the chick he was with looked all innocent. And like, I was just like, I didn't like homie, but I couldn't figure it out, right? I mostly thought it was the hoodie, just the way he was carrying himself. And like, bro, like, I was like, man, I don't want to interfere with him and his girl and all that, you know, like, but they were going to open the door with a knife. And I was like, all right, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight. I felt homie had a gun. That's the truth. That's how I felt. And so I went and listened to the door, and I heard the girl crying for help. And I listened very carefully, and I went, yeah, that's not sex play at all. That's not sex play at all. And I was like, all right. And so I had to come up with some plans, because listen, you got to be smart. You don't want to get in trouble when you're helping. You don't want to hurt yourself or hurt others. You could hurt others on accident when you're helping. And I said, you know what? Let me keep it simple. We'll just call the police. We'll just call the police, and this dude's going to be done. But the stripper and the little boyfriend, they're like, dude, you can't call the police. We got stolen stuff. We got drugs. Woo, woo, woo. You just can't call the police. Plus, it's a country club. The young man's dad's going to find out. It's going to be a fucking disaster because dad was on vacation. So it came down to me, and I was like, oh my God, right? I'm about to fucking get in some serious shit. And I thought about how to open that door, and I saw myself getting shot. And I played through scenarios over and over again, and I saw myself getting shot each and every time. And I played through it, and I thought, and I played through it, and I thought, and then I found one scenario that would work well. I want to be success. I don't want to be an idiot here and get fucking hurt for someone I don't even know, but I'm trying to do a good deed. And also, I don't want to see these two women open the door with a knife. They're going to get shot, because you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. You just don't do it. So it came up with a little plan, and the plan was quite simple. The two girls walk in first, and all they do is focus on their girlfriend doing the normal girl party thing. And all you bros who've been to parties, we've all heard it. I'm checking on my girlfriend. Oh, what's my girlfriend doing? Checking on my girlfriend, right? The total cock block type thing, right? So I told the girls, you repeat that line over and over again. Focus on the girl. Don't look at the dude. Don't make any ugly faces at him. Don't be a bitch to him. I don't care what you see. I don't care what he's doing. Because now it's tactics. It's tactics, and I have to protect these two chicks, and I have to protect the chick who's getting sexually assaulted. That's who I need to protect. And I need to also protect myself. I'm being responsible. I need to protect everyone at the party so bullets don't go through the little sheetrock and kill someone. Just because I'm safe, just because those girls are safe, doesn't mean it doesn't go through the sheetrock and kill someone else in the other room. There's nice people in that room. It wasn't all bad people. So we had to play this through. I played it through, got the girls coached up, and they said, well, what if I have to look at him in case he throws a punch? I said, don't even look at him. Only look at the girl. The only thing I'm looking at is him. And I'm going to be in a particular position, hand on your shoulder, hidden down. He won't see me. Because of that, he won't reach for his gun on the fucking nightstand. She goes, what if he gets up and tries to punch me? I said, I hope he does. Because I'm going to catch his arm and put him down. I've got all my training. I'm ready to go. I'm stoked and ready. We're going to save this girl. And that's exactly what happened. Got the door open. The girls walked in. First girl had her hand on the other girl's shoulder, exactly the way SWAT does it, exactly the way you see it in movies. I had them do that. We trained in the living room for 2 minutes before we walked in. Second girl had her hand on the shoulder. I had my hand on the second girl's shoulder, and I was squatted super low, ultra low. Homie couldn't see me. He got up and was like, what the fuck? And he threw a fucking big haymaker punch, caught his arm, put him face down. I won't get into the full struggle, but he got face down and put down. He got choked out pretty bad. It was not a good situation for him. But, you know, he had a moment to just stay chill. He was chill for like 30 seconds, tried to break free, and I choked him bad. It's what had to happen so he would stop. And we protected the girl. There was penetration with the hand, no penetration with the other parts. And she was drugged. She had been date rape drugged. And, you know, stop the thing. And because of the situation and this, I talked to homie. And homie's like, I deserve sexual reparations. That's what he said. Those were his words. He was black and she was white. And he goes, I deserve sexual reparations. In my brain, dude, 30 years ago, I couldn't even understand it. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And because I made him tell me why he did it. And I said, bro, you can't go about doing this like this. Just, you know, make yourself look good, come up, but don't do it like this, bro. And it was the luckiest day for him because he doesn't do a 20-year prison sentence. And I didn't physically hurt him. I used the least amount of force necessary. One of the reasons why I did that is because he's so stupid that guy, and I'm going to tell you something about people, they could do the wrong thing and you stop them doing the wrong thing. Now they hate you and they want to come back and hurt you. And since he had a firearm, I wasn't firearm trained and this and that. I went through a shooting when I was little. I had issues around guns. Now I don't. But long story short, got him calmed down, ran him through some compliance tests. Again, stuff I've just seen officers do. I modeled it. I wasn't a cop. I was a martial artist. I just modeled it. I had him go through some compliance loops, calmed him down for about 10 minutes. No one at the party would call the police. Everyone was like, dude, we can't do it, man. We'll all go to jail. And I was like, fuck. I was so pissed. Because I was like, I'd love to see this dude do 20 years and get butt fucked in the fucking prison. He deserves it, right? So anyways, long story short, I gave him his shit back. Because that way, he doesn't come back and shoot up the party. He doesn't have no vendetta, no reason to do anything like that. And I said to him, and I'll say it very clearly, I said, if I see you back here, I'm going to kill you immediately and fucking instantly because I'm afraid that you're going to kill us. I'm afraid you're crazy and stupid. You're crazy enough to do this. You're crazy enough to shoot up the party because you're fucking goofy and you think you're offended because you got stopped from your reparations. So, bro, just go and we good. But don't even be like down the block. Don't be around the corner. If I see you even in this complex, I'm killing you first and then no one knows nothing. And I made that threat because I was so concerned that if he came back, he would hurt us. And, you know, and then the party doesn't want to call the police on anything. And it's like, dude, this is a bad situation. So I had to be the one to man up and make that happen. I had to be a protector, a force for good. And it was a righteous war, and you know, and that was what it was. So bringing it full circle, it doesn't matter if you're stopping someone from a sexual assault or if you're, you know, stopping anything. That doesn't even matter. It's like, are you doing the right thing, and have you built that up in the right way? I took years of martial art training, and one of my older brothers in the school said, do you want to be the kind of person who can stop a problem and not make the problem worse? And I said, yeah, I want to be one of those kind of people. I was an abused kid and I wanted to do good things. That's what I wanted. And I felt like I needed to do good things to right some of the wrongs that had been done to me. And, you know, it is what it is. And he goes, well, in that case, you got to keep your training up. You got to suffer correctly. The pain that frees you, not the pain that traps you. So the pain that frees you. And that was just one moment at a party on a Saturday or a Sunday in the afternoon, 3:30 afternoon, kind of party in desert, Palm Desert by Palm Springs, Palm Desert. But I spent years in martial arts. I have tons of martial arts stories. And the greatest thing you get from it is confidence. Confidence to walk around, confidence to be yourself. But even greater, you get confidence for all your working out. And then when you can, and it takes a little effort, it's not automatic, but when you can take that confidence and look at a book that you're going to study, or look at a form that you're going to fill out that is intimidating and uncomfortable. You got dyslexia, you got a couple things, whatever your things are, or you got a nightclub and you can go out and start talking to people, you know, ladies and this and that, whatever it is. When you have yourself developed in other ways, and I don't care if you're not a martial artist, maybe you're a college graduate, you can say to yourself, man, I had academic excellence and I faced a lot of academically difficult things, and I went through a lot of tests that were emotionally difficult. So therefore, I stand up and go forward to go talk to this person, right? You can do things like that, but that's all built on prior success. So the effort you put in today becomes a new tool that you can use tomorrow. I'm going to wrap it up. Let me just recap real quick so it's easy to memorize. The desire is to be successful, okay? The problem, we're really raised to conform, go along to get along, but no one's really fighting for what we need, right? The solution is to care about yourself. I cared about myself to learn martial arts. I cared about people I didn't even know, so one day I could maybe be a force of good. So the caring for people I didn't know got me to get the skills so that I could save that girl on that day and tell this story today. So some of it was self-love because I didn't want to get hurt anymore the way I grew up. But some of it to really make it happen, to get me past my level where I was stuck, I had to care about other people just in general. So if you're someone who naturally cares about other people, the hard thing for you is going to be to care about yourself. Okay? And opposites power you. Opposites power you. But if you're someone who really, really cares about themselves, but you don't care about others, dude, opposites power you. Opposites power you. Care about others. Flip the script. And it'll give you new wisdom and new ideas and insights. It'll push you past levels you never saw before. Okay? So the solution is to care enough, right? To care, to sacrifice, to do, to love yourself enough to fucking make it happen. My story about, you know, saving someone during sexual assault, but it is what it is. You can save others, you can save yourself. It's just a story to show masculine energy. Thinking correctly, not making situations worse, and attacking wisely. Okay, and lastly, how can you believe and succeed right now? So that's it. This is the end. How can you believe and succeed right now? Let me hit this real quick. A lot of you are going to say something like, well, man, if I had more money, you know, if I had more time, I'd start my YouTube. Or if I had more time, I would do this. Or if I was in this country, I'd start dating. Or if I was this or that, I would do all this. There's a way you can do something today. There's a way you can do something today. Let's say you're very overweight. You can start your day with 2 cups of water and start when you go to bed, 2 cups of water. That can be the start. And you could say, I don't have much control over my eating habits, but let me at least be hydrated when I go to sleep and I wake up. My brain will feel better. My brain will feel better. And if I can't control everything, let me control this little piece. And when you do something on purpose that's uncomfortable, but it's good for you and it's on purpose, there's a certain part of your brain, it grows and becomes more powerful. It actually gets bigger. And it gives you willpower that others don't have. Literally, you increase the power of your will. So your willpower actually grows stronger, and it makes it easier to hold habits. And then when your habits lock on, things are just generally comfortable. It doesn't take a lot of effort. Like driving doesn't take a lot of effort. Once you know how to drive, it doesn't take a lot of effort. There's a lot of things, once you know how to do it, it doesn't take a lot of effort, right? So you build your will, you can work with what you have. You can have a couple glasses of water when you wake up and go to bed, okay? If it's finances, you can start to study finances. Start studying stories of people went from zero to hero. Just start studying stories. You can do that. Learn something about accounting. Get in a book on accounting. Go take an accounting class. Okay? You can do it for free. You can go to an accounting thing on YouTube and just take a notepad out and say, you know what? There's a lot of things I can't do, but I can study accounting for 30 minutes a day every fucking day. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to fucking do it. And hopefully, maybe some of it will rub off and I'll start thinking differently, feeling differently, okay? I was really sick one time with cancer a long time ago. I had no energy and I had to work from zero to get back to hero. It was terrible, and I kept saying, well, if I had enough energy to work out, I could go work out, but I didn't have any energy. So what did I do? We'll save that for another time. But it's called a catch-22, and it's like you're locked in. You're locked into failure. You're locked into failure. How are you going to get out of it? How are you going to get out of it? You're locked in. You got to find just a little space where you get a little wiggle room, a little space, a little small action, and that grows it out. And it grows it out and gets bigger and bigger. Remember, a baby, 9 months, right? It's just a sperm and an egg. 9 months later, it's a whole person. Okay? It starts from nothing and it grows. And you would never say those two little cells are going to be a bazillion cells. You would never say it. But it does. Okay? And that's why we're all alive. Because people had sex, people had babies, families were there. That's why we're alive. We're alive because of that. So that's a really good teaching. Just a couple cells became everything. Break free of your catch-22. Let a couple small movements in your life become everything. The first month or 2 months doesn't look like anything. But after a little while, it goes, pah! All right? So I'm going to peace out with that. If you can't be inspired with that, or you can't learn from nature, that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Be inspired by things. Learn from nature. Because it's there to benefit from, okay? So this has been a first talk for Masculine Endeavors, and make it good. Peace out.